pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Classes. We have two sets of minutes this evening. The first are our August 13th non-public work session minutes. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the second set are the August 13th, 2018 Select Board regular meeting minutes.
I move that those be approved as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 The Select Board will meet on the following dates. We'll have regular meetings on Monday, September 10th and September 24th, 2018 at 6 p.m. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. Town offices will be closed September 3rd in observance of Labor Day. The initial public hearing relative to the adoption of the master plan will take place Thursday, September 6th at 6:30 in Town Hall. A second public hearing will take place Thursday, September 13th at 6:30 p.m. at the same location. The Planning Board will take public comments concerning revisions and amendments to the current master plan. State primary voting will occur 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 11th at the Plymouth Elementary School gym. Highland Street will be closed all day Friday, August 31st, starting at 7 a.m. for road paving, so seek alternative routes at that time. All of the above meetings will be held at Town Hall unless otherwise posted, and citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before noon on Friday before the scheduled meeting. Alternate members are always needed to fill the positions on the Zoning Board and Planning Boards. If interested, please submit a letter of intent to the Plymouth Select Board office at 6 Post Office Square, Plymouth, New Hampshire, 03264. I have no comments, but this evening we have a visitor, Kevin French, is going to discuss the street tree ordinance along Main Street.
And I'm not really here to discuss the ordinance all that much, other than we're just representing the DeMarcos who own the Panther Pub. And there's a tree in front of their business which is shown right there. It's planted in the sidewalk, and they'd like to do some renovations to the front of the building, and they'd like to remove the tree. It's getting to the point, it's right there. It's getting to the point now where it's causing problems. It's cracking, which has some photos of it. It's about the beginning, the roots are beginning to break up the pavement, and as you can see, it's getting quite large, and it's all in the power lines. And that's where it's, shows that it's starting to, the roots are beginning to break up the pavement, so they'd like to, it's really too large for the area, and it's also growing into the building, and we'd like to see what we have to do to remove it. In the ordinance, it's getting to the point too where it's encroaching on some of the setbacks and things like that are required in the tree ordinance to maintain. It'd have to be trimmed at least anyway, because some of the branches are lower than the requirement on the street side. And like I said, it's really getting too large, and it's becoming an issue, and they'd like to They'd like to be able to remove it. And I haven't talked to them, but I was going to go to the highway department. The inside of it is scarred up pretty well too from where it's been hit with the sidewalk plow. So, again, and then I asked and they said that we are going to the planning board for the site plan, for the renovations to the front of the building. But one of the things that they were gonna ask is, what about the tree? And I was told that falls under you guys' purview.
So you're requesting of us to seek the removal of that tree?
Right.
And anticipate of replacing it with another tree, or?
They weren't really thinking of it because it is kind of it's created an encroachment on the sidewalk, and it's near that street that goes down. Now, that street now is just one way down. It's one way down the hill. This doesn't come out anymore, but it's a situation where it's really not that, the tree isn't that compatible with the sidewalk. It's not a case, in your ordinance it shows what you'd normally have would be you have a curb, and then you'd have a grass strip, and then the sidewalk. But in this case, it's curb, and the tree is actually, it's planted in the sidewalk. So it really narrows things down through there. And right now, like I said, with it breaking up the pavement, it's making it so it's not, it certainly is compromising the, ADA compatible, ability of it, and they'd like to, they'd just like to remove it. They said we'd plant one somewhere else if you wanted one, but that really isn't, it's not that great a place for a tree. The other thing about it is it was planted right under the power lines, because the main power line runs down that side of the street. And I don't know if it showed, well, there's actually another tree, it's not my issue, but there's another tree down the street that's doing the same thing.
It's not, I don't think there's like a town standard for, how the trees are planted currently, but I know along the sidewalk in front of Main Street, there's no grass buffer. It's generally planted in a hole in the sidewalk.
And that's what this one was.
Right.
So at some point, those, like right now, those are about, they probably have a diameter of probably 3 inches or something like that. Well,
Right.
This one's probably 14. And so it's now, now it's, it's really just gotten, it's gotten too big for the area where it is.
Well, I don't think removing it would be completely in the,
What's that?
I don't think removing it completely and not replacing it would be within the town's, vision. Like the townspeople have said that they love the trees on Main Street. And so if there was to come down, I would say to replace it. My vote would be to replace it. Is the tree in the town road right of way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And usually the electrical company comes and trims,
Right.
prunes trees that it,
Interfering with the lines and
Right.
such, yeah.
Well, and
And when, I will say, when they trim that tree, they're gonna have to cut the whole sidewalk side of it off, because it's that, like you can see, it's, and the other thing is, I don't know, I have no idea when the co-op or the power company has some, what schedule is for trimming that line, because they're all on different schedules, but that one, it is an issue that we have to do something about.
Can I address, there's a question from the audience.
Don't have to ask me
up to
permission.
you.
Yeah. Frank Miller, do you have a comment that you'd like to?
Yes, that tree is part of the Main Street program back in 1990, which I was a part of, and I helped install the brick and worked with the people planting the trees. These trees that we have planted were selected to grow to a certain size, like around 20 to 25 years, to not get too big and to try, it was part of our breaking up the landscape and greening of the main street. And some of the trees didn't get the memo and they went out of control. We have some that of course have died off, and some, the sidewalks, the safety of the sidewalk, because the bricks are depressed, some are raised, as with this tree. It's a hazard for pedestrians walking, and it's also a hazard for the town sidewalk plow. So the request for removal of the tree, I believe, is very appropriate for the public safety. And some of the trees, in the enthusiasm to try to get a certain number of trees on Main Street, some ended up not being in the right location. And I believe this is one of those trees that, because of the walkability of the sidewalk and the safety of interfacing another function of the roads, having a tree there would not be in the best interest for safety. But I definitely believe that this tree needs to be allowed to be removed. And like I say, some of these other spots we have, the bricks need to be relaid so they're at least flat and don't provide a tripping hazard for the pedestrians.
Okay, thanks, Frank.
I'm just gonna let Frank do these from there.
So I actually took a look at the tree, it was like a few weeks ago when I kind of like was aware of, something was going on out there. But, I mean, to me, I don't think it's a poplar, first of all.
What's that?
I don't think it's a poplar.
I'm not sure.
I don't know what kind of tree it
I
is.
thought it was a hybrid poplar. They grow pretty fast, but it could, it's an ornamental type, so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure, but I thought it was a hybrid poplar, but it's deciduous, whatever it is, so.
Yes, it is, yeah.
So,
But, so I'm not aware, or maybe it was planted there on purpose because of its unique,
well,
genus
again,
or whatever.
I thought it
but-
was a hybrid poplar, and their popularity is because they're pretty fast growing.
Right.
And I assumed that, somebody wanted fast growing when they planted it there, so.
And I'm not certain I agree with Frank necessarily about I kind of like the tree there. Maybe the tree is starting to outgrow its welcome.
As
but-
we found out a few weeks ago, when do you need to know, Kevin?
What's that?
Do you need an answer tonight?
Oh, no. Like I said, we're going into, we're going to go to the planning board and do some work, for site plan review. And part of the construction that they were going to do would be to do something with that tree at the time. Because they had to do stem work on the front of the building, they got to do something with it because it's in front of the building.
And I will comment that, anytime a tree is removed in this town, even if it's a tree that's, diseased, we get, it's an uproar from the public. I mean, the phones ring in town hall like crazy, why are we taking down trees? So, I think that the public opinion is pretty important there too, and we haven't heard any complaints about the safety on the sidewalk that I'm aware of at that point location.
Well, the only thing I would say to that is, I understand that to some extent, and I appreciate, wanting to keep it a rural thing. It's just some places, the sidewalk and these trees just aren't that compatible, and the types of trees just they get, like this one has kind of outgrown its environment there.
Yeah, I was just looking for, I'm trying to make eye contact with Joe, but he's kind of like sitting there with that. Is there any concern on your part as far as the tree or the sidewalk, or?
Well, the thing is, like you said, most of those trees were designed for a certain height level, and a few of them have met their expectations. So the way I look at it, that one comes down, the next one in line is going to look out of place. So even if you put another one in, so if you take one down, the next one's going to look out of place too. So right now, they both look uniform. But then you go to trim them, and who knows what they're gonna look like after you trim them.
True. Yes, Mike.
So in reading the ordinance, I don't know if it was 1982 or 86, whenever it was.
89.
89?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they gave latitude on what the board could do, but it also looked for a recommendation from an established tree committee. And I didn't know in 89 whether they put together a tree committee or if there ever was one.
It was a Main Street program, was actually the one that was instrumental in the street lamps and the trees.
So that was 1990.
Correct.
So there was no tree committee as the ordinance allowed for.
It was just, we gathered and we were trying to see how we could make the Main Street look a little more quaint New England character.
Because it would be nice, rather than just looking at that one tree, to kind of see that as a whole, that there are alternatives to taking down a tree, like planting one, or which ones would be the ones that are the most value to the town, and which ones are not of value, and which ones maybe because of power lines, or there needs to be some sort of scoring system. And I think interfering with the business is kind of something that needs to be looked at too.
The other part to that is the balance between aesthetics of how it looks and the new ADA specifications, and obviously safety issues and maintainability by the highway department. Not having any dimensional elements to speak from as to whether or not that tree was actually located in an area that we're now, given our new codes and standards for safety for pedestrians and such, we might not have put a tree there. We might have moved it down another 6 feet or so. So you're right, if it's something that we need to reevaluate, there's some trees missing on Main Street now that are mud holes, and the sidewalk asphalt is actually cracking because there's nothing there. So that represents a tripping hazard and a sidewalk maintenance hazard for this town. But for the initial application here, request is to remove the item that's obviously grown beyond what it was expected to be, and now it's providing a safety issue by the interface with the wires and or the building. And yes, the public may be concerned about losing a tree, but we have to understand that some trees, we've taken some big trees down in the common because they just overgrow, they just went too big and now become a safety issue. So there's no total answer for this, but we can start with allowing this removal because it's part of an application, and the next tree down, yes, may look like it needs to be removed also, but I don't represent that.
And, we wouldn't be having this issue if it was, a tree that was this big and only 15 feet tall. But this one's, it's clearly gotten a little out of hand. So, and the only thing that I would worry about is when the power company comes, if they come down and they take that out of the wires, it's going to create kind of a odd looking tree when you go down and they're cut half off like that. So
See a lot of
we're
that.
not opposed to, trees per se. It's just that this one's getting, to be a little bit of a problem. So we're kind of here to see what everybody thinks. So
Okay. Have you
So the
spoken?
town would be responsible for paying for somebody to come out and remove it then?
I think if we decide that we're going to want, apparently the
You need more
statute.
time, Bill?
What's that?
You need more time?
Yeah,
We don't need to decide.
thank you, Paul.
And I believe the statute dictates who would pay for the tree depending on whose property it's on, and it's all spelled out.
Well, Mr. French said it was town,
It's our
in the
property,
town
yeah.
right of way,
Yeah.
road right of way. So it was the town's.
I agree with Paul. Let's address this. When's the planning board meeting?
I think it's the 20th,
Okay,
20th of September.
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Okay. You want to keep these, or?
You can hold on to it.
Yeah. well,
Sure.
okay.
Put them in a package.
You want all of those?
All right.
Do we check back in, or where do we go from here?
At our next meeting, we'll pick up, where we left off. Actually, I want to do a little more research on this, too.
Okay, so I mean, I guess I'm just asking, do I plan on coming back to
When's our
the
next meeting?
next selectmen's meeting, or?
It's, depends upon, the people you're working with, I guess, to request that you be at the next board meeting, but we'll have a decision on
September 10th.
September 10th.
Artie with the tree is right here, and maybe they could shed some light on the action.
I think we're all set. I think we'll, thank you. No, that's true. You can stay for public comments, which are coming up pretty darn soon. And then you can comment to this. But right now, we have Joe Fagnan, who has a mower rental, PO. Joe.
So I'm doing some roadside mowing. So this represents 2 weeks' worth of rental for the mower. And we stepped it up like a couple weeks last year when we were doing it. It started getting dark early, so we stepped it up so we can try to get more hours out of the machine. This is a normal practice we've been starting to do. It's for our money, this is our best practice to try to go out and in 2 weeks we can get 90 to 100% of the town mowed, what we need that's critical.
This is the one with the long arm and.
Yep.
Places where you can't normally reach.
Right.
And was this included in the budget?
Yep, it comes out of a certain line item, yes. Yep, summer services.
Great.
Very good.
I make a motion, we approve the, did you?
I had a question. What if we did it every other year, Joe? Is that a problem?
With the growth, yes.
This year, anyway.
It would get out of control. You'd have people calling that
Okay.
can't come in and out of, especially your intersections. The stuff just grows so fast. I mean, we're waiting on Co-op to come in and trim in town, and they were supposed to be here. And there's a lot of calls coming in about the overgrowth of just what the Co-op's supposed to take care of.
No, go ahead.
Is this the one we get all the time, or
Yep,
this rental company, or did we check with others as far as
Yeah,
rate?
we do shop around. This is the same mower, but they've gone up in price because
I was thinking it was
since
like
they started doing it, they were losing money because they weren't getting enough money
Yeah,
because it's such a
enough
high
usage.
maintenance item.
Yeah.
So
'Cause it was like
this reflects
4,000.
everybody, not just us, whoever rents them. So, and we shopped around and they're right on the money with everybody else, so.
Okay. Is there a motion? Or-
I would make a motion that we approve this purchase order in the amount of $6,000 for the 2016 John Deere tractor rental.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Wasn't it about
Thank
4,000
you.
last year?
It was 45 or 47. So yeah, it went up. But like I said, they were losing money. Actually, there's 3 companies that don't do it anymore because they,
Just don't get enough usage out of it, and it sets all winter, so.
Right.
A lot of breakage too, probably, and stuff.
yep.
I hear there's a tree on South Main that you might want to, not want.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any committee reports?
I have a couple things. With the planning board, there was, that I sat in on, there was an application at the old Anderson's Bakery building where they came to the planning board for a change of use and a site plan review. And David Sanborn is looking to expand his businesses in Plymouth. He owns The Last Chair along with a partner or partners, and is looking to sell burgers and eventually brew beer on site. And it would, they're changing the interior portion to have a bar along the south end and the lengthwise, and seating, as I understand it, all the way around it, around the building. And he's taking out some partitions and opening it up, and it looks like it's going to be done very nicely. And he did get his approval that night. There was a new business in town, another new business that just opened up on Friday night on Route 25. Boy, it's probably been a few different businesses. The old Remington's building. Big Daddy's. Big Daddy Joe's opened up Friday and Saturday night, so new business in town. That's all I have.
And none.
And I went to a meeting of the Conservation Commission. Last month's meeting, they had a working meeting where they hiked to Pikes Peak. They said that the trail was in good shape. They apparently removed a sign that pointed to an overlook that's on private property and not on town conservation land, that they don't know who put it up, so they removed it.
Is that Newfound? Like a view of Newfound or something
Yeah, I
like that?
think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it is. It's pointing to a view.
Yeah.
And the people, they apparently had approached the property owners and asked them if it was okay with them to leave that sign up, and they asked that it be removed, so it was taken down. The maintenance that was done at Walter Newton earlier this summer has been very effective in keeping the mud down, even though it's been very rainy. They still have some maintenance needed, but nothing serious. And also, PSU approached Lisa Donor, who's the chair of the Conservation Commission, about having some students, first-year students, I believe it was mostly, do some work so that they have a sense of the community and what's going on around town, and, you know, areas that need to be respected. And she gave them some suggestions of things to clean up, and apparently they were doing it, and she's been checking on the areas that they've been cleaning, so that was it.
Very good. Are there any public comments? Yes, Frank.
I'd like to know, is the spot outside of Dressers Unlimited, right between there and the other building, is where a tree's missing, and there's a big kind of valley there, and I was thinking about taking upon myself to bring a couple pails of sand, taking the bricks and putting that back in at level, but I didn't want to encroach on any municipal property responsibility, so I didn't know if that was something I could do as a citizen, or if I have to apply for a site plan review.
Joe, do you want to?
So, yeah, so, those are areas where the trees, they planted some trees and they didn't make it. And so it's been passed a few times and then settled, and so, we have a bunch of paving that's gonna be done. I just had some bid out today that, and we could certainly include that. I would rather, if there's no tree going back there, I would rather patch it in with asphalt. I mean, certainly if they want to put brick there until we get to it, the highway can take care of that also.
Okay. Wasn't there, I thought either like Steve Rand or something like that? I know there's no downtown, thing anymore, but I thought Steve was mentioning that he would like to plant a tree there, or,
Well, they did plant one.
Oh, that died too?
One that died.
Doug McLean planted a bunch of
Ranch did
trees.
plant one. That one didn't make it either.
oh, really? So it's been replaced twice or three times? Or,
Well, the reason is, those trees we planted, they cost where $1,200 to $1,500 a tree when we planted them. And then obviously the care and maintenance of it, and then when they expire or they get too big, we have to look at, what I would say, this spot here that I'm talking about. We need to address it for a safety issue, and winter's coming, and your plow truck has issues with it. So it's something that needs to be addressed, because if we allow it to continue, it's going to continue to crack the asphalt that's behind it. Same with this tree that these people are trying to get removed. It's not helping the town's expense of asphalt maintenance and the sidewalks, so that's my point of question. We need to do something here now.
all right, well, Joe indicated he's gonna,
Yeah, anytime you have a concern like that, feel free to call us,
Okay.
and we'll work with you. I know that we have those issues.
Well, we have two different factions here. One is we have this town item of having trees on Main Street, and then you're responsible for sidewalks and streets maintenance. And-
Right, well, at one time there was a tree committee and there is no more, so
Right.
now it falls back just per se to highway.
Okay.
Just that's how it goes. Everything that doesn't go, it falls back in the highway's lap, so.
Well, if you're going to schedule this one to clear as asphalt, then the one that they're asking to get removed out possibly should be the same.
Yeah, we'll take care of that other one as soon as they have a resolution for theirs, then we'll look at it.
All right.
and I don't know, if there's any, I think we ought to check with like Doug McLean and Steve too, to find out.
I think there's a lot of different, like, players that's unwritten,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just a,
And the ordinance actually gives responsibility for the trees to the town
I
administrator.
know, I saw that. He just ducked into a, Frank, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll look to see if we can, might replace that tree too as well, but anyway. Any other public comments?
Non-public.
Okay, well, in that case, is there a motion?
Make a motion,
Go ahead.
make a motion, we go into non-public.
Or adjourn, I guess. Oh, no, we're going non-public. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're non-public.